We just literally have 4 superstars, you know, who do an average of 1 film a year. So I don't think it's rocket science to keep those 4 Fridays apart.
Yeah.
So it is, as far as it is unfortunate that it's happening. It should not have happened.
In an industry that is as unpredictable as the Hindi film industry, when 2 movies of different production companies release on the same day, there are bound to be ego tussles. There is too much money at stake, and when it comes to huge investments being on the line, everyone is going to try their best to ensure that they emerge as the winners in the clash. While a lot of it is restricted to fan wars of the stars online, something that we saw recently with Dunki and Salar, where the fans took it upon themselves to battle it out with one another, there are many cases where there is absolute animosity and hatred among camps that leads to public face-offs and drama one least expected. Can I just say though, what I have noticed about the internet, and I say this specifically about the internet, is that it is most interested in the lafdas happening off camera versus actually being interested in the content of the film. Exhibitors speaking to Himesh Mankad on the Pink Villa YouTube channel stated that it is ideal when the 2 movies releasing are diametrically opposite to one another in tone and pitch, because it creates an environment where there is something or the other for all kinds of audiences. The examples like the Barbenheimer weekend, where one can sit for a compelling Christopher Nolan movie or just a fun time with Barbie. This is something that was experienced with the weekend clashes like Gadar 2 and Oh My God 2 and Animal and Sam Bahadur, where both films benefited, one becoming a blockbuster, the other becoming a hit, for it caters to different sensibilities. What however transpired last weekend with Jigra and Vicky Vidya Ka Wo Wala video was absolute chaos. Something that made me also conclude that Hindi cinema has a long way to go in terms of unity and standing up for each other, with the intention of having a symbiotic relationship that monetarily benefits one another versus getting at each other's throats, which seems to be the reality of today, only leading to the self-implosion of this industry. I remember reviewing Vicky Vidya Ka Wo Wala video and constantly bringing up how the hell can they feature a knockoff version of Stree in the film as a comedy gag. What most people assume is that if you're working at the level of T-series, you're going to cover every legal and intellectual property track possible so that you are in the clear. A few days after the release, the director of the film gave a formal apology for the use of the intellectual property obviously owned by Maddock Films, and ensured to remove it by 15th of October. The toxicity around Jigra was no different, as the rumblings of it being a knockoff from Savi kept on featuring in my comment section. Divya Khosla Kumar posting on her story a photograph of an empty theatre stating that this is the result of stealing one's movie plot, it just caused absolute chaos. I still say this, whoever has seen Savi and Jigra both will confidently tell you, 100% tell you, that other than the jailbreak, it has absolutely nothing in common with each other from a character, relationship and plot standpoint. If one were to really argue, Jigra can be considered to be a derivative of Dharma's own produced film Gumrah. But when the mudslinging starts, there is no end to it, with various cryptic but obvious posts by both Karan Johar and Divya Khosla Kumar, leading to the environment becoming extremely toxic, and those who love to see some Kalesh get their popcorns out and revel in the madness. While T-Series itself doesn't claim to have the thoughts expressed in those stories, having presumably a good relationship with Dharma, the damage was already done, because no one is really going to seek for nuance here. लड़ाई हो रही है तो हम spectators हैं और कुछ नहीं. It reminded audiences of the good old Bollywood days, where actors would openly insult or criticize each other versus the PR curated interviews that are usually prevalent everywhere today. With what transpired in the last few days, the drama that arises with movies releasing on the same weekend, something that will happen with Bhool Bhulaiya and Singham this Diwali, it made me think about the several examples across the years with Hindi cinema. On 7 June 2002, 2 movies released on the same character and the same story. The Legend of Bhagat Singh starring Ajay Devgan and the 23rd March 1931 Shaheed starring Bobby Deol, both actors portraying the role of Bhagat Singh. Now imagine the predicament of a theatre-going audience then, having the choice between 2 Bhagat Singh movies. You're obviously going to go for the film which features a more capable actor, Ajay Devgan in this case. But as the oddly similar movies split audiences, it adversely impacted both the film's business, and the movies ended up underperforming at the box office.
So we've not done wrong to anybody or wronged anybody कि किसी और ने पहले शुरू की फिर हमने शुरू किया, ऐसा भी नहीं किया हमने. So we are being fair. Rest is, we'll see.
Ajay Devgan was a clear standout in the clash, Bobby Deol paling in comparison regarding the portrayal of the celebrated freedom fighter, while there were accusations flung by the production companies on each other of when the story was in production, the chronology of who started it first. You know what's the most surprising aspect of this clash? That both the Bhagat Singh films underperformed, turning out to be commercial disasters, and another movie that released in the same weekend ended up victorious. The Jimmy Shergill and Uday Chopra starrer Mere Yaar Ki Shaadi Hai. In a Koimoi article, the team states, made at a budget of 20 crores each, both Bhagat Singh's sagas turned out to be major box office disasters, with the lifetime numbers closing at around 7.50 crores. On the other hand, Mere Yaar Ki Shaadi Hai, which was made in a mere 6 crores, went on to top the collections with 8.5 crores accumulated at the box office, hence emerging a good success. When it comes to clashes, however, nothing was as toxic and a clear coming together of egos when Saawariya went toe-to-toe with Om Shanti Om on the 9th of November 2007. You had to see it to believe it because the way both the movies went toe-to-toe from a marketing standpoint was spicy and intense to say the least. In an article written on Rediff.com, Saawariya had tied up with Future Group to market Saawariya merchandise. In reaction to the same, the Om Shanti Om team walked the ramp to promote Shopper's Stop, Future Group's rival in the retail market. The Om Shanti Om cast would feature on a reality show Zee Saregamapa, and the Saawariya team would feature on Star Voice of India, the rival channel. The promotional material of both the films sparked intrigue. Shahrukh with his chiseled abs with Darde Disco was all the rage. Ranbir Kapoor and his towel in Jab Se Mere Naina was on loop on television, and everyone was just curious on how the Kapoor son would fare at the movies. Buzz was around that the makers of Om Shanti Om shot a song that features over 31 artists from Bollywood, whereas the makers of Saawariya hosted the biggest movie screening event ever seen in Hindi cinema.
When I say that I am taking on Sony Columbia TriStar, I don't mean it in a negative manner. Sanjay Leela Bhansali is a friend. I've done a work with him. I've done a great film with him. Ranbir and Sonam, I've seen. Rishi Kapoor is an inherent and integral part of Om Shanti Om. So they're all somebody I like, respect or love or know very well. So I can't take on anyone. The only people I don't know is Sonia Columbia TriStar. So I'll take them on.
Saawariya went on to become an absolute disaster, and Om Shanti Om emerged as a blockbuster. So much so that the international producers of Saawariya gave the infamous statement that you don't go up against Shahrukh Khan, no matter how good your product is. Farah Khan reflected on the toxic yet competitive environment during that time and how it restricted the business of Om Shanti Om from becoming the first 100 crore Bollywood film.
If they had not released with us, we would have been the first movie in the history of Bollywood to be 100 crores.
Really?
Yeah, because we stopped at some 83 or something, and that 13 crores was what Saawariya made, or little more than that maybe.
On 13 November 2012, Jab Tak Hai Jaan, Yash Chopra's last film, released on the same weekend as Son of Sardar starring Ajay Devgan. Yash Chopra had passed away just 3 weeks before the release of his last film, and there was genuine curiosity about his last stint at the movies. However, things became quickly ugly between the two clashing production companies as Ajay Devgan sent a legal notice accusing the makers of Jab Tak Hai Jaan, Yash Raj Films, of manipulating distributors to allocate higher number of screens for their last film.
फिल्म रिलीज हुई तो मैंने जब कहा था कि जो मैंने केस किया है वो किसी एक इंडिविजुअल पे नहीं है, वो एक सिस्टम पे है और वो सिस्टम के लिए मैं लड़ूंगा जरूर, चाहे मेरी फिल्म रिलीज हो गई है लेकिन आगे मैं वो लड़ता रहूं.
The assumption was that Yash Raj, in exchange for allowing exhibitors to screen Ek Tha Tiger, would showcase Jab Tak Hai Jaan for all their screens. This was one of the few times where Shahrukh Khan was not involved as a producer, where two movies were clashing, so he took a backseat as Yash Raj and Ajay Devgan found themselves at a stalemate.
Legality and things like that, I have no idea why it should be so. And it must be a company to company thing. And I hope they resolve it nicely in whichever way they feel possible. But on this Friday, I hope all the films do well.
Ajay Devgan claimed that before the case, they had almost around 1400 screens slotted to them, but because of the awareness of the issue, close to 1900 were finally allotted to them. Taran Adarsh remarked on the clash, saying that it was the hottest discussion at that point in time. There was a lot of controversy as both sides justified their stands. He continued by saying, thankfully both the films did well at the box office and collected over 100 crores. The business got divided, They could not get optimum success at that point of time. They would have done much better had they arrived solo. A clash that did not become really toxic but was interesting nonetheless was the face-off between Dilwale and Bajirao Mastani, a clash which clearly offers two diametrically opposite films in terms of pitch and genre. One, a carefree commercial film on friendship and family, and a period epic going toe-to-toe. While Dilwale underperformed at the domestic box office, ending its run at close to 138 crores, many people owe its underperformance to its scathing reviews it received, and deservedly so. One of the movies from Shetty's own filmography that he himself looks at and calls out for its poor execution.
So many things happening, the release date was coming, and then so many issues happened in that film. Monday morning we were like, forget it and niklo bahar yahan se.
While Bajirao Mastani received rave reviews and beat Dilwale at the domestic box office, the gap between both the films internationally was astronomical, being Shahrukh Khan's best international performing film at that time, touching the $25 million mark, making it the winner in the clash when considering the worldwide box office collection.
It's unfortunate, मगर जैसा मैंने बोला यार, वो कुछ 54 हफ्ते होते हैं, 200 फिल्में कुछ ना कुछ तो साथ में आएंगी. मुझे बड़ा खराब लगता है मेरी फिल्मों के साथ ही दूसरी फिल्में आती हैं, but अब आती हैं तो आती हैं.
A clash, however, that turned extremely ugly was when on 28th October 2016, Ae Dil Hai Mushkil released on the same weekend as Shivai. The clash had several controversies. You would think that the audience would split evenly for a high-octane action film starring Ajay Devgan and a romantic film directed by Karan Johar. However, the clash of egos and spats were ugly and for everyone to see. Out of all the people, KRK was in the middle of a controversy as he flippantly remarked in a leaked phone conversation with Kumar Mangat that he had been paid 25 lakhs by Karan Johar to speak negatively about Shivai, something for which Ajay Devgan publicly asked for the matter to be inquired. Karan Johar vehemently denied the same, and KRK in a press conference stated that he had said the figure just as a means to avoid a conversation with a friend who he was shocked had leaked their conversation to the public.
करण जौहर ने मुझे कभी भी शिवाय ने किसी भी फिल्म के बारे में ये नहीं कहा कि मैं किसी की फिल्म के बारे में गलत कहूं. ना ही मुझे करण जौहर ने कोई पैसे ऑफर किए, ना ही मुझे करण जौहर ने कोई पैसे दिए हैं. तो सवाल यह है कि मेरे कंधे पे बंदूक रख के अजय देवगन साहब करण जौहर को टारगेट ना करें, मुझे बलि का बकरा ना बनाए. मेरी इतनी ही रिक्वेस्ट है अजय देवगन साहब से.
Things were so ugly that it caused a public rift between the friendship of Karan Johar and Kajol, as camps and their segregation were clear, and it took years for both of them to reconcile. Ae Dil Hai Mushkil was embroiled in another controversy. After the Uri attacks, there was a strict ban on Pakistani artists working in India. This put Ae Dil Hai Mushkil under the scanner for having Fawad Khan in a prominent role in the film. Theatre owners and M&S workers demanded a ban on the film. Ajay Devgan was openly critical of the makers of Ae Dil Hai Mushkil for not condemning the attacks.
It started from there, basically. If all they had to do is, if they would have tweeted or spoken about it, this whole controversy wouldn't have happened in the first place.
Karan Johar made a video addressing the same, shocked at being labelled anti-national and condemning the terrorist attack. Eventually, Ae Dil Hai Mushkil emerged as the box office winner in this clash that clearly became very ugly. The clash, talked about not so often, is the one between the Shahrukh Khan starrer Raees and the Hrithik Roshan starrer Kaabil that both released on 25th January 2017. Actors who claimed to have a cordial relationship ever since Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum were battling it out with one another. It was initially announced that Raees would release on Eid of 2016, which would have meant that Shahrukh Khan's film would release on the same weekend as Salman Khan's Sultan. While false statements like the release date will not change were made by Excel, eventually January of 2017 was decided, to the shock of many, as one assumed SRK to feature in Diwali, which was avoided so that Ae Dil Hai Mushkil can have its run, which had its own set of problems with Shivai and the political unrest in the country. What became toxic was when Raees producers decided to release the film a day prior to Republic Day. Even Kaabil then shifted its release to the 25th, making Rakesh Roshan furious of what was transpiring in the clash.
आप उनको 50 दे रहे हैं तो हमें भी 50 दीजिए. उनको क्यों 60 दे रहे हैं, मुझे क्यों 40 दे रहे हैं? मैंने क्या गलती की है?
When Hrithik Roshan was asked about the same, I could see a visible sadness about how things have transpired, as both the films did eat each other's business.
I spoke to Shahrukh, I requested him that this will not be good for my film, so can you please see that this does not happen, and I'm sure that he has tried. I'm sure they have tried their best. No one is going to do this on purpose. So there is no ulterior motive here. At least I might not like to believe that.
While Raees collected a total of 271 crores worldwide, Kaabil earned around 147 crores. Whatever may have happened, it was very clear that it got ugly, but the Bollywood fan within me just hates to see Rahul and Rohan ever fighting.